Not a soul over your shoulder either side. This is dreadful.
There isn't a soul over my shoulder. Well, there is actually. There are a couple of people over there. You can't actually see them. And I must admit, I've been here since 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock this morning. And about 8 o'clock this morning, a whole plethora of people came down the sandbank here and went out into the sea. So people are sort of ignoring the advice, if I'm honest. This is one of the worst areas, the worst hit areas, Gosport. But to be honest with you, Alistair, I could have picked anywhere from Hastings in the east right through to Land's End in the west. And I could have gone right around the coast up to Cumbria as well. The problem is pretty much universal. Underneath my feet, you can't see it now because the tide's in, but underneath my feet there is a pipe that leads out to the sea, and that's what has been leaking all of this sewage into the waters. Now, the water companies are very quick to remind us that 95% of this outage, as they call it, is in fact rainwater. But it's the 5% that we need to be more concerned about. All sorts of diseases you can catch if you come into contact with raw sewage: salmonella, hepatitis A, and E. coli as well. So it's certainly not good news if you do come into contact with them. The water companies, of course, have been explaining why this has happened. They've been saying it's due to these remarkable weather conditions we've had. We saw a very, very hot, dry summer, a heat wave, as we know. The ground became rock solid in places, and then, of course, when the rains came, they couldn't sort of dissolve away into the porous ground like they normally do. It's all been sitting on the surface and clogging up the drains that simply can't cope, because a lot of the drains in this country are still Victorian sewers that haven't really been updated since the turn of the last century. Water companies coming under huge fire, of course, for this, mainly because of the salaries that they're paying some of their senior directors, whilst at the same time not coping with all of the leaks that we've been seeing, billions of gallons being leaked every day, and of course not repairing significantly these Victorian sewers that are causing the problems here. But they've also enraged people here over the last few days by saying, look, exercise your judgment. Now, I'm all for exercising your judgment, but how can you tell? I mean, the sea in Britain always looks like this. It always looks a little bit murky, doesn't it? It's a reflection of the sky, which is very rarely blue. It certainly isn't at the moment. But so a lot of swimmers are saying, how on earth can we tell? I spoke to a few of them earlier on today. This is why they told me they're still swimming.
Well, we do watch the apps and what Southern Water are putting online, and we were going to come Thursday, weren't we?
Oh yeah, that was a
And they
definite
said
no.
it had just been dumped in. We were like, okay, so we have left it a couple of days, so now we're hoping that it's okay. Yeah.
What do you think about the fact that so much raw sewage has been dumped into our seas every year?
It's disgusting.
It's
Absolutely
heartbreaking.
disgusting. Yeah. Yeah, and especially when they do it on days when there's been no heavy rainfall, because I believe they're supposed to do it when it's like a bit of an overflow from all the rain, and yet they're still doing it, and we haven't had any really.
That's the British way, isn't it, Alistair, really? We don't listen to what people tell us to do, we just get on and do it, even if there's raw sewage.